All right, I think I am broadcasting live now. Everything looks good? Okay, everything looks good. Welcome to another live broadcast here on the Samba Journeys platform. So glad that you guys are here. I know I'm a little late. But anyway, yeah, just another long day here on this side of the camera. I hope you guys had a wonderful day. We going to today's broadcast. I promise you, if you looked, if our usual live broadcasts usually go almost about 2 hours. I don't even know how that happens, but it does. But today's broadcast, I assure you, we're not going to go that long at all. We're just going to jump right into it. I'm going to introduce you to yet somebody else that you can go to if you are if you're one of these people who are just so obsessed with the Carmelo Anthony case, and and you're we're going to get justice. We're going to get justice. And I'm just going to introduce you someone else. So far I'm introduced about 4 licensed attorneys that have given their take on it. And I'm going to give you another one. And we're going to talk about that. Why is it that these individuals seemingly are being ignored in favor of some other people? So anyway, and then I'll take a look at a comment that I received. It was one of the first things I saw this morning. And it just kind of underscored just how much trouble the unity in community is. Anyway, you'll see what I'm talking about. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. And let's get started. We'll give it about a minute and let people get on board. And then we'll get in. Remember, this broadcast has been brought to you by Samba Tree. Go to sambatree.com. Sambatree.com for all your health and wellness natural needs. We got you covered. Go to the website sambatree.com.
She melts in the sun, sweet on my tongue. Every step she takes, a rhythm begun. Yeah. She's cocoa, she's velvet, she's all I need. A sugar rush, walking, a living dream indeed. Her laughter smooth like caramel streams. She's the spark, she's the cream in my dreams. Smile like a candy shop glow. Every word she speaks, it's a sugar flow. Her eyes, they shine like a cocoa night. She's the flavor I crave, she's my delight. She's the taste I can't ignore. One bite leaves me wanting more. Bittersweet and oh, so divine. Chocolate girl, oh, yeah. Chocolate girl, you're forever mine.
All right. And for those of you who've been asking about our music and wondering how you can get it, remember, all you got to do is go to our community page. Just scroll on our community page right here on YouTube. And I've actually given you the links, and I've actually made them free too. So there's no excuse, no reason. You can download them there. But we also have full-length albums available over on sambatree.com. So make sure you check it out over there as well. And you can download and all of that. Just sitting there listening. I said, it is about time for me to start doing some more music. So, and yes, AI is used to put together that, but the lyrics, I'm writing those lyrics, and so, well, not this song. This song, my son, he did that on his own. But the other songs that we have, one about 4C hair, one about the conversation with the trees, all of that. Those songs, I wrote those, and then I just went to AI to help me, arrange the music and all of that. But the lyrics, I want to make sure that, at least the song itself, at least part of it is human, So anyway, so yeah, I was just thinking the other day, I said, it's time for me to start putting some more music together. So, stay tuned. I may have some more things coming up in the near future, as time permits. So anyway, I hope you guys are doing great. We are looking at today is the 24th of June, 2026. Today's high in the great state of Arizona, I don't know, but I know we hit at least 105 today. So, but fortunately, it was cloud cover. So even though it was hot, it was kind of like a sustained. It wasn't the stinging hot. It was hot, which made it kind of cool, So anyway, so that was going on today in our neck of the woods. I hope your neck of the woods is doing fine as well. So anyway, during the day, I don't typically have as much time to be on social media as I would like. But when I do get on, I am flooded with a lot of stuff. The first thing I do is I typically will check to see if, what comments I may have received or whatever here on YouTube. And I'm getting to share you one right now. But first, I want to give a big shout out, of course, to everybody in the chat. Welcome. So glad and very appreciative of all the regulars. I really appreciate you guys very, very, very much. And for you first timers, I'm glad you're here too. And welcome. And feel free to engage and all of that stuff. Just keep it respectful and all of that. But anyway, let me share with you a comment here. We're going to kick things off here with this comment. And this is in my downloads. Okay, so let me pull this up here. Give me a moment. I just thought this was really, really something here. Anyway, it's coming up right here. Here we go. Okay, so I don't know if you guys saw the post I did, the last post I did on the community page. Let me see if I can pull that up too, so you can see what I'm talking about here. In case you missed it, I'm not going to read it all because it's, you can read it yourself. But basically, I was coming from the perspective of, I was using Janus, the god Janus, the Greek god Janus, or Roman, one of the two, but it's the Greek god. Well, just say for now, the Greek god Janus. As you know, that's the god with two faces. One's looking in the past, one's looking in the future. And what I did was I basically played off of that to, somewhat in this post, to kind of, illustrate how, right now what's going on in what we call the Black community. You have two faces going on. And let me get out of this here so you can see what I'm talking about. Right now, you got two faces. Let's see. Hopefully it's this one. No? Hold on. Sorry about this. It's going to be that one. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Now we're straight. All right, here we go. It was this. I just went to AI. I just wanted to throw something together. I had to take a little bit of time to get it to look like the actual. If you just do a search, a Google image search for the god Janus, you'll doesn't look like this. I wanted to use black folks. I wanted one to look very professional or whatever, and the other one, of course, he's just a man of the hood, basically, and this is what you got going on right now. What we call the Black community is these two opposing faces. And in the post, I was basically talking about how, this past Juneteenth, and that's what this post was about. This past Juneteenth, this is exactly what you had. And one side, amongst numbers of Black Americans, they spent the time of Juneteenth, just as a time of reflection, relaxation, spending time with family, being very peaceful, just hanging out or whatever. And it was just a time of, like I said, reflection when it comes to history and the history behind Juneteenth and all of that. So you had that. Then you had the other thing, which my post actually covers, and from coast to coast in many Juneteenth, I'm really being very cautious on, do I call them celebrations at this point? But basically, there was unfortunately numbers of cases where numbers of Black folks lost their lives on Juneteenth. Or it wasn't because, there was some big invasion of white supremacists coming into the communities and shooting up and killing people. No, it was niggas, basically, who were taking these opportunities to reflect and to celebrate this holiday and to turn them into tragedies. There were many going from Washington State, Wisconsin, Baltimore, Chicago. It goes on. I think in Nashville there was something. I had a whole list of stories there where there were shootings that took place, and unfortunately there was a loss of life, and that took place as well. So it's very difficult to. And in the post, I basically talked about how, even though we're dealing with these two apparent opposing views, because there are different nuances in what we call the Black community, and everyone doesn't think alike, right? However, there are certain things that do link these groups together, and that's what I talked about in the post. And typically, it hovers around any infringement, if you will, or anything that's perceived as an attack against anyone that is Black. If it involves a white cop, if it involves a white person or whatever, then you see Voltron take, the whole Voltron thing go into effect, where you'll see these groups actually come together and unify. This happens all the time. Case in point, this recent, I forgot what state it was in, but, Juneteenth this past weekend, again, another one of these teen takeovers. And of course, there was a lot of craziness that was going on in this particular moment this video was taken. And instead of focusing on the recklessness of all of these kids that were just going around and just fighting one another, they literally are scheduling to fight one another in front of cameras and to broadcast it in front of the world. And so, never mind that. We're not going to focus on that at all. We're only going to focus on how exactly this cop arrested this one young lady. It seems to me that he was breaking a little bit of protocol. It seemed like he was going a bit rough. Yeah, that's what was going on. I mean, I saw some people really trying to make this big deal out of this one little instance. Meanwhile, the whole freaking thing is on fire. And it was just really unfortunate to see. Let me see if I have a, where was it? If I can't find it, that's okay. But someone actually had a video where they took, and they were just talking about how unfortunate, how one of the organizers of this event, you can hear in their voice, just how saddened they really were, because this was something that they put together. This was something that they planned. And unfortunately, you had niggas come around and basically to destroy it. And in some cases, they had to basically cancel the whole entire event. I'm trying to find it. If I don't, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We can just kind of go with that. But anyway, so that's what the post was about, right? Now, and I ended it with, how is it? I think, what was the question I ended it with? I ended it with a question, and the question was, I said, let's see, what does what does the first face feel? I said what? I meant to say, why does the first face feel an obligation to protect the second face? That's what I was talking about. Again, the image that I kind of threw together, that was AI. It was just to kind of give some type of illustration, right? And one of the comments I received was this one. And I thought it was really something. It was this one right here. I'll read it to you. The guy or person says, is that creepy two-faced statue African? If so, it does not have anything to do with Juneteenth, which is a holiday to honor Black Americans that survived American slavery. And I said the sheer amount of the amount of sheer lunacy that exists in this community space is staggering. And I just said I created using AI. It was patterned off the Greek god Janus. I said, Jesus Christ. I mean, did you even try? Did you even attempt to read what was written there? Why are we jumping off into African and who what are we talking about? But these are the same mindsets that we're dealing with today, who are trying to, or going back and forth, believing that they're giving sound legal advice on social media, on platforms like TikTok, on platforms like Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, so forth and so on. And they are thoroughly convinced that they are the law, that they understand how the law operates. Well, I've told you, in our few videos that we've done on this Carmelo Anthony situation, and in other stories as well that involve law enforcement and all of that, and courtroom and all of that kind of stuff. I have said repeatedly, I said, listen, I am not a lawyer. I will always tell you that. This is not my field of expertise. I'm never going to pretend that it is my field of expertise. However, I will lean on people who do know what they're talking about. I will lean on them and see what they're saying. So I put together these two images here just to kind of show you what's going on out here in these streets. And let's see, let me select this and that, and I'll bring it over to my computer. And I did a post already with the links to these individuals. And so you can look them up on your own here. So let me bring up this first one here. Just give me a moment here. This was one that I actually added another person on this one here. Okay, this one right here. All right. So, you hear a lot of people that were out here saying that, see, we needed Black lawyers. That's the problem. We needed Black lawyers chiming in on this. So I said, okay, well, let me find some Black lawyers, some, who understand the law, and let's see what they have to say on this particular issue, this Carmelo Anthony issue. And I found at the time, the one I created only had 4 of them on there. This gentleman here, we're going to actually feature him in tonight's broadcast. But these individuals here, I actually provided links to their pages because they have been talking about it. And all of these individuals, number one, are licensed. They are attorneys, so they understand the law. All right. And all of them share the same, have all come to the same conclusion when it comes to this Carmelo Anthony situation. So again, I have made a point to make sure that, hey, listen, if we're going to have a conversation about this Carmelo Anthony stuff, let's make sure that we're starting from a place of truth, right? That we're listening to people who actually understand the law, right? And that's what I did. I provided you links with these individuals, like I said, with the exception of the one on the far top left-hand corner of your screen, which we'll be listening to a little bit to him this evening. But everyone else, I've given you links. I played some of their videos, and people are still trying to argue. They're still are pretending as if they understand the law better than these gentlemen here. And it's no different than what the family, the Anthony family, they said themselves. The father said himself, well, I was told by those closest to me, black folks, to not get a black attorney. He said, go with a white attorney. Remember the clip we played? He said that. He said that. The father said that. He said that he was told by the black folks around him to get a black attorney, to make sure you get a white attorney, don't get a black one. Whatever you do, don't get a black attorney. Now, for me, I don't care if the attorney's white, black, space alien. It doesn't matter to me. I want a get out of jail attorney. So if you are good enough and you have a track record of making sure that you can put forth for me the best defense, you hired. You understand what I'm saying? I don't care about the color thing. I don't. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people who do. And this is what we're seeing right now. Now they're, boasting all on social media. Oh, they got a dream team. And we're going to talk about one of those attorneys that's on that dream team. So what we did is, on this platform, we did our homework. We said, let's go to these individuals and let's hear what they're saying. And like I said, they represent a small slice of the much bigger legal world. There are a lot of lawyers out there that are saying the same thing they're saying. But this mob court system, this street court system that keeps opening their big mouths, claiming that they know the law inside and out. Well, let's take a look at who they're going to. Give me just a moment. This is who they're going to. They're going to these people. Tariq Nasheed, Willie D. I mean, this is who you're going to. You want justice, but this is who you're going to give you clarity on the law. Tariq Nasheed, he's going to give you, he knows more about the law than attorneys. Okay. Willie D, the old rapper that has found his new gig in life, being a podcaster. Willie D. I want some legal advice. Let me look for someone by the name of Willie D. But people are listening to this dude. Okay. There you had the amazing Lucas. He's a podcaster. And he was just going off and saying all this stuff that it was wrong, it was injustice and all of that. Well, now he's finding out the hard way how he was. I think I saw a video. They said that now he's coming out saying, oh, my God, I was actually gaslit by the family. I didn't know. No, dummy, you didn't want to know. And the other two squares you see there, that's Professor Black Truth and Black Authority, because, they never show their faces. But this is just a sampling of individuals that the greater mob on social media are going to for legal clarity. And will get mad at you if you're like, okay, let's go. Like, for example, there are some things I understand about how a car works, but I would never say I'm an auto mechanic. Ultimately, I will take my car to a mechanic and say, hey, listen, can you fix this, right? Why? Because they're the experts. They went to school or they got their training and all of that stuff. I don't just ask somebody walking down the street, hey, what's up? Can you fix my car? I don't do that. Losers do that. People who don't have a mindset to even try to do better in life. That's what they do. Why are you going to old rappers and comedians for legal clarity on a legal case? Anyway, let me go to, here's a video, and like I said again, this is not the only one. This is let's see. Oh yeah, hold on. It was right here. I just had it up here. And I had people getting mad. People getting mad. Some people unsubscribed. They got angry and all of that. Okay, fine. Goodbye. I mean, this is, if you want legal clarity on something, for example, you go to the people who understand the law. I don't understand why that's such a difficult thing for people to understand. I don't get it. Well, here you got your other guy, Umar Johnson. Now, Umar Johnson, it's funny to me that this dude, in light of what happened to his school, this guy is still able to get major platforms. This is Umar Johnson. Let's take a listen to his interpretation of the law. Let's take a listen.
Austin fell onto Carmelo's knife trying to attack him because the knife is 3.5 inches. The cut was only 2. Loon, if I'm stabbing you, why am I going halfway with a knife blade that's only 3.5 inches? You fell onto my knife.
I heard no evidence of.
And he's a sportscaster. It's like people will go to anyone else but the actual source. I don't get it. And will get mad at you if you actually go to the source and ask them, hey, listen, can you give me some clarity on this? Anyway, let's get this out of here. Well, you've heard about this so-called dream team that they put together for Carmelo Anthony. And they're saying that, oh, it's all coming down now. The dream team, we up now. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Well, one of the members of the dream team, he actually posted what I'm about to show you on the screen here. And yeah, I'll just read it for you. Let me get it up here. Let me get it up on the screen for you. It's right here. One of the members, his name is Justin Moore. He's an attorney. Well, this is what he posted recently. He said, 35 years, they showed no mercy. Kind of hard to when the defendant's parents had a press conference mocking the dead victim's father right after the incident. Y'all non-lawyers can argue about if he were guilty or not. Most real lawyers realize this was a punishment case. With that being the case, you simply don't run around going on a press tour touting a false narrative. I'm pissed. And it is the people that were around Carmelo who sold this story to folks, trying to sell racism for personal gain. Y'all really showed out this time. Now, this is one of the attorneys on the Carmelo Dream Team. He just posted this. Where do you think that appeal's going to go? He already knows what's up with that. And he's holding the mirror right at the individuals who got it to this point. And people still don't want to hear it. Anyway, someone else, it's just a matter of time here on social media land. Someone did a little more digging on this Justin Moore, and let me play you this video. This is one of the attorneys that's representing Carmelo Anthony. Let's take a look at this video here.
In the early hours of January 4th, Justin Moore was 6 months in as a Dallas County Assistant DA. He was the head of his own nonprofit for mental health and one day shy of his 28th birthday. But none of that helped him as he sat in the car seen through the lens in this dashcam video. Around 2:30 a.m., Dallas police pulled Moore over on 67 near Ledbetter for swerving through lanes.
I did like 110 to catch up to him because he was flying.
Officers say they can smell alcohol on his breath, and minutes later, you hear Moore try to tell them who he is.
We got an assistant district attorney out here, and I'd just like to have a supervisor out here because he's threatening us, saying I'm going to get fired for arresting me and all this and that.
In the video, you hear police eventually move Moore to the back of the squad car as his is towed away. Moore claims his arrest comes down to race.
Are you guys running the police clearance? You guys KKK? This awful time.
You can hear officers remind him he's being recorded, but in the moment, he seems to defiantly accept his fate.
I hope I get fired. I don't want to be a part of Dallas County with this. How this is on camera too?
It was, and he was fired. There's no trace of that nonprofit, and now this video serves as a reminder of how quickly an accomplished life can change. In Dallas, Marie Saavedra, Channel 8 News.
I mean, is there not anybody in the Carmelo Anthony camp that can do even the most basic of research, background checks? This is what you get when you play the skin game. When you just go with skin color, this is what happens. How can you tout the words of Martin Luther King being, where he talks about judging people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, but you don't even embrace that yourself. You don't even embrace that yourself. And it was funny. I was reading the comments under that video, and you had people still trying to defend that. And they were saying things like, well, getting pulled over for being intoxicated. I mean, we've all done that. No, we haven't. You have. Some of us actually understand the law and know that, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. Some people are, here comes that word, you better hold on, are responsible citizens. And there's certain things we know not to do. But yet you got people trying to defend that now. It's like, okay, you got the Dominique dude who's the baby shaking pastor, minister. He's your spokesperson. He's a felon. You couldn't find anybody else. You got a felon to represent your son who's going to jail. That's the best you could do. And now on your dream team, you got this dude. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It's the law office of clown and clown. That's exactly what it is. It's the law office of clown and clown. And people just don't get it. And at best, all you could do is just tell people, put the information out there, and really that's it. That's it. And you can hope for the best. But like I said, so unfortunately, some people just get angry with you for simply trying to get them to just look at it. Just listen to what they had to say. You said, okay, you need to have a black person, to basically to explain something to you. Sorry about it. You need to have a black person explain it to you. Oh, that's right. But we can't really trust black people that are lawyers. I forgot about that. We can't trust them. We need a white lawyer. God. Anyway, so let me introduce to you, hopefully this is and it's not, this gentleman here. Some of you guys are probably familiar with him. I've seen him around, and quite truthfully, I haven't really listened to him, but I'm going to start listening to him because I like what he's putting out here. All right, so here's the let me get the website up here, the YouTube page up for you, and I hope you check it out. I'm one of those that do like, listening to lawyers and all of that, and so but yeah, he did a really good job in this video, and we're just gonna look at some excerpts of it. But let me pull this up here. This is his YouTube page here. It's called Law and Legacy Network. And I'll just read it to you here. It says, welcome to Law and Legacy Network, where power, truth, and structure meet purpose. Founded by attorney Dennis D. Sperling. This network delivers uncompromising commentary and intellectual discourse on the issues shaping men, families, and communities in America and beyond. And it goes on, And anyway, again, his name is Dennis D. Sperling. Okay. Well, he recently posted this video here that I would highly encourage people who are still locked into this whole Carmelo Anthony's case. I would highly recommend that you check out this video here. The name of the video is The Truth About Carmelo Anthony's Chances of Freedom on Appeal. All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to play. I may jump around a little bit, but I want you to take a listen to what he has to say. All right. On this. This is not just he just talking off the top of his head. This is a man who's been an attorney for over 20 some odd years. So he has a thorough understanding of how the law works. All right. So let me go ahead and play it, and let's go. Is this, hold on, is this the same one? Why it looks cut off like that? Hold on, let me see something. Hold on. Sorry, y'all, hold on. Huh.
This isn't one of those cases where the state barely had evidence.
All right, here we go.
Anytime we have a racial issue, we're going to talk about it. You have people talk about a case involving a football player from way back in the 60s named O.J. Simpson, and people are still talking about it like it was a 1995 Super Bowl. They just will not let it go. This is where we are in America. So you can imagine with this fresh fuel to the racial fire that is going to be talked about. Now, again, as I said, Carmelo Anthony was convicted of 35 years. A lot of black people are saying, hey, that's too much. Some are saying that's too little. Okay. So, yes, this case isn't over, but, because they filed an appeal. His lawyers filed a notice of appeal the next day. And so, we need to be clear. The trial is over. And once the case leaves the trial court, it goes to the 5th Court of Appeals in Dallas. Okay, this is a state court of appeals, and the rules change completely. This is part a lot of people don't understand. An appeal isn't a second trial. Let's be clear about that. The appellate court isn't going to bring in new witnesses. It's not going to replay the case from scratch. It's not going to say, well, social media didn't like the verdict, so, let's try it again. That's not how appeals work, okay? And the 5th Court of Appeals is going to review the record, and that record is going to include the clerk of court's record, the court reporter's record, the voir dire transcript, the jury charges, the objections, the rulings, the admitted evidence, exhibits, the punishment evidence, and the final judgment. That's it. They don't care what anybody on YouTube has to say. None of your Facebook posts matter, all right? The only battlefield is those things I mentioned, and that creates a serious problem for this appeal. A lot of people are making a big deal about the fact that Carmelo Anthony has a new group of lawyers. Somebody type dream team in the chat room, right? And let me be clear, I'm not taking anything away from these lawyers. I wish them the best. Some of them have some real experience and reputations. Okay, but a new legal team doesn't erase the facts of this case. A new legal team doesn't make that dead body go away. Mm-hmm. The knife, the witnesses, and the confession. That's the problem. Okay? And this isn't one of those cases where the state barely had evidence. Okay, this is one of those cases where the identity of the killer is unknown. Okay, it's not a case where the murder weapon can't be found. This is not a case where there were no eyewitnesses. This isn't one of the cases where the medical evidence is confuting. In this case, the state had a dead body, a murder weapon, dozens of witnesses, video evidence, body cam footage, and the state had Carmelo's own statement admitted that he stabbed Austin. That's a mountain of evidence. And so when people say he has a dream team now, my response is simple. That's good. That's great, but this isn't a movie. Great lawyers still have to deal with the record, and the record is ugly.
Yeah.
And the jury already heard the case once and convicted this young man of murder, and they didn't buy self-defense. They didn't compromise with manslaughter. They gave that young man 35 years, so y'all need to stop acting like new lawyers automatically mean freedom. The appellate court isn't going to say, well, Carmelo has better lawyers now, so let's just throw out that old conviction and try again. So I don't want you all to get hypnotized by this phrase dream team. A dream team still needs a legal issue strong enough to overcome a verdict. And if this case gets reversed and goes back for a new trial, the state will still be standing there with the same core facts. A dead 17-year-old child, a knife, a chest wound, a medical examiner, young witnesses who will still be alive to testify, video evidence, and Carmelo's own words. That's the cold, hard truth. That is the cold, hard truth. And some people are going to hear this and say, oh, you're just against Carmelo. You're a sellout. We need real lawyers. We need Johnny Cochran. Johnny wasn't a sellout. Let me stop you all right there. I was fortunate enough to meet Johnny Cochran at the atrium of the Southern University Law Center in Baton Rouge right now. The same law center right now, somebody type right now, the same law center where my photograph now hangs in that university's Hall of Fame, right there in that atrium where I met Johnny Cochran. My photograph now hangs in that hall. So I know exactly who Johnny Cochran is, and all of y'all, they know exactly who I am. Somebody type right now. You understand? I know what Johnny Cochran represented. I know I'm not taking anything away from the brother. But here's the thing. Johnny Cochran is dead. He died in 2005. He can't help Carmelo Anthony. He can't walk into the Fifth Court of Appeals. He can't file a brief. He can't argue Batson. He can't fix a bad trial transcript. He can't undo missed objections. He can't cross-examine witnesses. He can't make a dead body disappear. He can't make a murder weapon disappear. He can't make a medical examiner disappear. He can't make dozens of witnesses untestified to what they testified to. And he can't turn a weak appellate issue into a strong one just because people online are emotional. That is the hard facts. And I'm not saying that to disrespect Johnny Cochran. He's one of the greatest trial lawyers of our time. But Johnny understood facts. He understood law. He understood evidence. He understood juries, and he understood strategy. And most importantly, he understood the record. And he didn't win cases by selling a fantasy. He won cases by finding weaknesses in the state's case and attacking those weaknesses with skill, preparation, and precision. So when people say we need Johnny Cochran, what they're really saying is they want somebody to make them feel. Somebody type feel. They want somebody to make them feel like this is going to be an easy win. Somebody type feel. Somebody type feelings. This is not an easy win. And even if Johnny Cochran were alive, he would still have to deal with the same problem every lawyer has to deal with: the facts, the law, and the record. So stop using dead legends to avoid living facts. And while we're telling the truth, let's tell the whole truth. Have y'all read Johnny Cochran's book? Huh? Huh? Number one, Johnny didn't become he didn't tell black people fairy tales. He understood the system because he worked inside the system. Did you all know that Johnny Cochran was a prosecutor? Huh? He was a deputy city attorney in Los Angeles. Do you know what that means? That means he put thousands of black men in jail, in prison.
See, nobody talks about that part.
Does that make him a sellout? He learned how prosecutors think. He learned how police reports are used. He learned how witnesses get prepared. He learned where the pressure points are. Johnny Cochran got a white baby mama. Did y'all know that? It's in his book. Does that make him a sellout? I'm just asking questions. See, that shouldn't take away from the fact that he was one of the best criminal defense lawyers and former prosecutors. Those are two separate things. Had nothing to do with who he decided to date, impregnate, etc. I see what y'all did to that brother Sean Kent over there who defended Rick Child. Y'all searched him all up on the internet. Just because he got a woman that don't look like she's a foundational black American, but he's a sellout. That man is an excellent lawyer. He had a hell of a job.
I'm going to skip a little bit here.
Score on the Louisiana bar examination.
Hold on.
To the lawyers you ever met. See, the truth doesn't become betrayal just because it hurts your feelings. Legal analysis doesn't become anti-black just because it doesn't give you the answer you wanted. And a lawyer is not boule, a sellout, or against his people just because he refuses to lie to black people for applause. If you want somebody to lie to you, it's plenty of people on the internet that have pimped themselves out for that. I'm not going to do it. I don't like you all that much to lie to you and spare your feelings. Don't you like having the fact that you have a lawyer who won't lie to you, who will tell you the cold, hard truth? Don't you like, isn't that refreshing? Somebody type refreshing in the chat room. Isn't that refreshing? I wanted to work for the government, but that's not what happened. I end up doing what I'm doing. And I'm not the first one in my family. I never wanted to practice criminal law. And a lot of it comes from the fact that I watched my father, Dennis F. Sperling. So I'm technically Dennis Sperling II. You all have met my son, my older son. He's technically Dennis Sperling III. My father practiced criminal law and family law in Houston for decades. He was licensed in California and Houston. He passed away in 2021. He also taught trial advocacy over at Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Many of the young lawyers that you see around here in Houston, Texas, many of them, not just young, but 40, they passed through his class. He taught trial advocacy. And I live with this man. You understand? So when I talk about trial lawyers and criminal defense courtrooms and juries and the pressure of representing people whose freedom is on the line, I'm not talking from the outside looking in. I grew up in this. I watched my father grind year after year. I watched him go to court. I watched him deal with clients. I watched him carry the weight of people's freedom, families, problems on his back. He was an excellent lawyer. People still talk about his reputation. I go in courtrooms right now. Oh, you're Dennis Sperling's son. But unfortunately, he was one of those lawyers who was basically died at his desk. Before him, there were other lawyers like Mr. Whitcliffe.
I'm gonna skip here a little bit. So he's given the thing I like about this particular video here. He was given a lot of history, like even with him, and he was talking about his experience and all of that kind of stuff. And then I'm trying to get to the part where he talks about what actually happens in the appeals circuit. And so let me see if I can find that, because he explains that for those who don't know about that. He's going to do a breakdown of that.
Liens, expert, biomechanics, billing, damages, causation, trial strategy, and negotiation. They don't teach that in law schools. You have to learn that in the trenches. And you're very rarely going to find a black lawyer like myself who practices 100% personal injury law. And that should tell you something about the level of confidence I have in what I do and the path I choose. But even though I don't practice criminal law, don't confuse that with me not understanding it. I grew up around it. I watched my father live it. I saw crime scene photos on the kitchen table. I was probably too young to see. I overheard conversations year after year with clients. I filed documents in his office. I served subpoenas. I saw how criminal defendants think. I saw how family members act when somebody's facing prison. I saw how hard lawyers work on cases where the public only sees the verdict. And one thing my daddy told me, always stuck with me, he said, criminal law is a no-win situation for the lawyer. If you do a good job and you get your client acquitted, the client may walk away saying, I was innocent anyway. I didn't even need a lawyer. But if you lose, the client gets convicted and they still say, you a bad lawyer. I didn't need you to lose. I could have lost by myself. And that's why one of the first lessons that criminal lawyers learn is they get their money before the trial. They get paid up front. Get your full fee before the trial date, because once the case is over, if the client doesn't like the result, they may never pay.
And so let me just stop there. And as I'm like going forward here, this is when this whole dream team thing, they're saying that they are doing it pro bono. Now, there's people out there that don't understand what pro bono actually means. It doesn't mean you're doing it for free. It just means you're going to get your bag later. Okay. And so the Anthony family already said they don't have any money. Carmelo Anthony said that I don't have enough money to get a lawyer, so somehow, they was able to put this team together or whatever. And they said, we're going to do it pro bono. I'm telling you right now, they saw how quickly Negroes assembled together and put together almost $1 million to support this dude. And the way these these types of situations usually play out is that at some point, you mark my word, they're going to pass the offering bucket around, and they're going to say, listen, our team is doing some deep research and we need your help. We can't do it for free. We need your help. So we're going to put if you can do a love offering to help us in this quest to help this young man. And here comes the money. But you could tell people that, you give people heads up, they'll still do it anyway. They don't care. And I don't know if you can see it or not on the right-hand side. I mean, people are just, they're not even have listening to what he has to say here. Anyway, let me play it. Let me see where he is now.
To learn something, I should earn something. But you don't owe me nothing. Now, let's just get down to the nitty-gritty, baby. I'm not going to do all the videos I normally do and do the play-by-play. This is serious business, so we're going to talk about it. So the real issue, somebody type problem. Somebody type problem. The real issue in Carmelo Anthony's appeal. First thing people need to understand about Carmelo Anthony's appeal is where the case goes and what the appellate court actually is reviewing, okay? Because this was a Collin County criminal case. I think that's north of Dallas. The direct appeal would go to the 5th Court of Appeals in Dallas, okay? Not to be confused with the federal 5th Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans, which covers multiple states. We're talking about the 5th Court of Appeals. I think there's like 14 now. Houston actually has 2. It has the 1st Court of Appeals and the 14th Court of Appeals because Houston is so big. But the 5th Court of Appeals is up in Dallas, okay? And if the 5th Court of Appeal affirms a conviction, in other words, they agree with the trial court, the next possible step would be a petition for discretionary review to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, which is the highest criminal court in Texas. All right, a lot of states have something called the Supreme Court. We have the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, okay? Now, and that's discretionary. They don't have to take the case. But the appeal doesn't start with a motion, okay? Or what people think should happen. It starts with the record and the standard of review. Somebody type standard of review. Somebody type standard of review. Let's be intelligent. Let's learn something. Okay, the appellate standard of review. One of them is, or the appellate standard of review depends on the issue being raised. If the issue is legal sufficiency, this is going to be boring as hell, but you're going to learn something. Legal sufficiency of the evidence. The court reviews the evidence in the light most favorable to the verdict and asks whether a rational jury could have found the essential elements of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt. I know that's a lot of words, but the most important thing you need to listen to is light most favorable. In the light most favorable. In other words, we're going to give all the discretion to what the jury said. We're going to look at it in the light. If we looking at, okay, they could have made a mistake, but you know, maybe it wasn't a mistake. So in other words, the appellate court has given the jury's finder, the finder of fact, the benefit of the doubt. Okay? That's a very hard standard for a defendant to win because the appellate court gives the jury a lot of respect on witness credibility, conflicts in the testimony. Oh, but you said this that day. Well, the jury didn't believe it. Reasonable inferences from the evidence. And the appellate court isn't going to retry the case. The appellate court isn't going to sit there and say, well, I would have believed this witness instead of that witness. That's not how this works. And the standard is brutal for a defense lawyer or an appellate defense. It's brutal. The court looks at the evidence in light most favorable to the verdict. In other words, keeping the verdict. And it asks one question. Could a rational jury have found those elements of murder beyond a reasonable doubt and rejected self-defense? Based on the evidence that's publicly reported that went to the jury, the answer is yes. The verdict, that's what look, that doesn't mean you have to like the verdict. It doesn't mean you have to agree with the jury, but legally there's a major difference between saying, I disagree with the verdict and saying no rational jury could have reached that verdict. Mm-hmm. Those aren't the same thing. And on appeal, Carmelo Anthony's dream team doesn't win a legal sufficiency by arguing that some evidence supported self-defense. He only wins if he can show that the state's evidence was so weak that no rational jury could have convicted him. And that's not going to happen here because you have a murder weapon, a dead body, dozens of witnesses, and a confession.
That's right.
Now, that said, start with the crime itself, okay? The state has to prove murder. The state can prove murder if a person intentionally, knowingly causes the death of another person. Very simple to understand. The state can also prove murder if a person intends to cause serious bodily injury and commits an act clearly dangerous to human life and causes death. So we're going to break this down. I want you all to understand. Somebody type bootleg. I'm bootleg for telling you the truth. Right? Let's break it down. I've got me sweating. I'm sweating like a Hebrew slave out here. Screaming at the internet, ran my blood pressure up. Somebody type first element. Okay? First element, you're the prosecutor. The first element is identity. Do we know who did it? Right? And that's not a fight here. Because Carmelo Anthony was the person who stabbed Austin Metcalf. How do we know? Because he admitted it. Because you had dozens of witnesses. Somebody type sellout. Am I a sellout for saying that? It's the truth. He said he put hands on me. I stabbed him. So this isn't one of the cases where the defense can't say, can say you got the wrong person. It was his twin brother. It was a lookalike. This ain't it. Somebody type bougie in the chat room. So there's no issue as to identity. It was never an issue. The issue is whether the stabbing was a murder or legally justified. We can go past that. We got this one out the way. Identity, check. We know who it was. The second element, somebody type number 2, causation. And that's also a major problem for the defense. Austin Metcalf died because he was stabbed in the chest. How do we know that? Not because they saw the wound, but because the medical testimony reportedly showed that the knife entered the left side of his chest and pierced the right ventricle of his heart. That's not some speculative cause of death. That's not a complicated causation problem. That's direct. Knife goes in the chest, knife hits heart, Austin dies. A rational jury could easily find causation beyond a reasonable doubt. You see how that works? Somebody type sellout. Does that make me a sellout for telling y'all that? Huh? Does that make, huh? You know, I'm asking questions. Huh? Does that make me a sellout? Huh? I don't think so. But if you choose to believe that, fine. Now let's talk about intent. Intent. Because this is where people online keep trying to blur the issue. Intent does not require a confession. Intent doesn't require Carmelo to say, I intended to kill him. Jurors are allowed to infer intent from conduct. In other words, we know you intended to do it based on what you did. Baby, I didn't intend to sleep with that woman. When you did it, I ain't mean to do it, but you did it, and she pregnant. And you came back to the house with some positive tests from the clinic. You meant to.
Almost done. We're just gonna play a few more minutes of this, y'all.
Ladies, imagine your man coming back with your boyfriend or husband coming back with a new baby, talking about he ain't mean to do it. He didn't intend to do it. Well, what did you intend to do? I mean, did you trip and fall into it, sir? I'm just saying. So intent doesn't require for him to kill him. Just like intent doesn't, you didn't intend to have sex with this, get this woman pregnant, but you intended to do something. And that's enough. Is that easy to understand? Is that easy? Do y'all get that? And see, so the jurors are allowed to infer intent from conduct. And when someone pulls a knife and drives it into another person's chest, a rational jury can infer intent. The chest is a vital part of the body. The heart is in the chest. You don't need a law degree to understand that stabbing someone in the chest can kill them. And a rational jury, this is the standard, a rational jury could find that he either intended to kill Austin or knew death was reasonably certain or intended to cause serious bodily injury by committing an act clearly dangerous to human life. Is that clear? You see? And that's why this whole argument, well, he didn't plan to do it. He ain't planning. He ain't mean it. That doesn't get you very far. Okay? The law doesn't require a long planning session. The jury could look at the confrontation, the words, the refusal to leave, the knife, the wound, the location, and the aftermath, and conclude that this was not some accidental poke or harmless defensive movement. They could conclude that this was an intentional or knowing stab to a vital area of the body. He didn't stab him in the big toe, did he?
I'm gonna stop it there. But this video, again, you can see the title right there. This is yeah, you can check them out right here. The Truth About Carmelo Anthony, Chances of Freedom on Appeal. This is from Dennis Sperling, and he is a licensed attorney. He's a licensed attorney. He understands this. He talks about how his father used to do this. He's in a family line of attorneys. He's the second one, I'm assuming, in his family. And he mentioned his son. I don't know if his son does it or not too, but this man is very familiar with it. So it goes back to the question that I was asking earlier for those who joined us maybe late, is this: why are you listening to old rappers, comedians, just roundaway bloggers, and faceless people to give you interpretation on the law when you have a whole gallery of attorneys that are out here that are familiar with the law? They understand what it actually means. They understand they can improperly interpret it for you and give you the cold hard facts about it. But instead, we have this segment of the black community who just refuses to look at the truth. They don't want to look at the truth. Because truth in of itself is like a mirror. It reveals exactly where you stand. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to look at that. They don't want to see that. But like we said on this platform, anytime we're talking about topics that I'm not familiar with, and the same thing goes with my wife, we're not going to just sit up here and just make stuff up and just put some big words on there and hopefully we can kind of duck around all this stuff. Nah, we got to look this stuff up. I spent months in research when I put together that Breaking the Chain series. Months of research. There was a lot of things I didn't even know. But I had to pour myself in, listen to hours and hours of people who are experts in these different fields. I had to read their stuff. And then I had to understand it. And then I had to take that information and put it lay it out in a way that's palatable for my audience. While at the same time pointing people and saying, hey, listen, I'm doing the best I can to give you what they're saying. But here, you need to go directly to their source because I may have missed something. You need to go to them. But you got these whole assholes out here that many of you are listening to that don't have a law degree. They don't understand the law, but they're trying to combine street law with the actual law. It doesn't work. You can't blend the two together. It's never going to work. Period. And so this is what brings us right back to the post that I did earlier. You have some people out here who do understand that within this thing we call the black community, but then you also have some who don't. They don't want accountability. They don't want to listen to authority and people and their, who are trained in these certain areas. They don't want to hear that. Whereas the other portion of the black community, they get it. They understand, and they are always every day working towards, and building their own localized communities based off of, hey, listen, if I'm gonna be a civilized individual and live in a civilization, I have to be civil. I have to understand some things. Now, I know for some people, some of the things that Mr. Sperling was sharing, it may have gone over your head. But see, that's how you learn. Go back and, like I said, rewind, because he's going in some great detail on how the system works, so that now you're talking from a place of understanding and not just out of your feelings and your emotions. And because there's so many people, and I saw someone even now, there's people still locked in to the fact that, but the jury was all white. The jury was all white. As soon as I saw it was all white, I knew it was over. That's it. They were all white. That's it. Never mind. You don't know anything else. You don't understand anything, how the court system works. You don't know anything. Well, all I see is white. And all I saw was a bunch of white people, and that's all I said. That's it. But what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Did they do this? Did they do that? Well, I don't care about that. They were all white. Case closed. That's it. End of story. I don't want to hear anything else. La, 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 la. That's it. So in closing, basically all I'm saying is this. I wanted to do this video because I wanted people to check out these individuals that I showed you tonight, but I've also put links to their stuff as well. Check them out. If you are someone that's just really all enraptured about this case and you just can't, you got people out there now using scriptures to kind of like defend Carmelo Anthony. It's like, okay, how we get here? All kinds of stuff. See, this is just a sign that God is about to do something. He's about to release judgment on America for how they treated that boy. Now, let me say this in closing because I wanted to actually do a separate short video on this. Because you got some folks out here who are actually saying that they believe that God, the Bible God, is actually using black folks to bring America down. You know, because America is so wicked, evil, demonic, and all of that stuff. And so just like God, he would, in the Bible, you know, he would raise people up to tear some other ones down and all that stuff. Let me just leave you with this for those of you who are of that thought. If you really paid attention to the Bible and the people that the Bible God chose to tear down other kingdoms, typically those people that he chose, those nations, those kingdoms that he chose, were some of the most wicked, the most awful, the most evil, the most demented people in the area. That's the people he typically used to tear other kingdoms down. Typically, that's what he did. He didn't always go, the only one he would use Israel, right? From time to time. But for the most part, when Israel needed some correction, he always went to the most evil and wicked people to bring that correction. So what are you saying? That black folks are those, we're that? You're saying that the God that you worship and serve and you lift up and all of that, that's how much he thinks of you, black folks? He's got to use the most wicked and evil people to teach America a lesson? See, a lot of times we say things, but we don't think it all the way through in what we're saying. And I listen to a lot of people and I'm like, you're not hearing what you're saying. You're contradicting yourself. And I always try to give people an opportunity and space that, okay, let's scroll back a little bit. I want you to repeat what you just said, but say it slowly because you're contradicting yourself. And I'm trying to be nice as possible, but people don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They just want to sound off and that's it. But I'm encouraging you. Let me be that at least one voice in your life that's telling you at this moment, listen, please educate yourself. All right. Educate yourself. Listen to some of the things we talk about, the brain, the different parts of the brain, the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex and all of that, and our lengthy discussions on those topics. And why is it's important, it's imperative for you to make sure that you are taking great care in the things that you eat, the things that you consume, because they play vital roles in your brain health. I mean, with the rest of your body, of course, but particularly your brain health. Do you know that you can look at someone's diet and a lot of times their diet is a reflection of how they are as an individual? If they're eating a lot of sugary stuff all the time and, you know, a lot of caffeine, things like that, well, it kind of gives you an idea of who they are. A lot of starches, not really going out, not really exercising, always loud. You can't speak. I was in the store the other day and it was a young black woman in there and she was nice. She was having a conversation, but she was talking at 10. And this is like a very quiet little store or whatever, but she was like talking at 10. And I'm sitting up here like, sis, why are you talking so freaking loud? And nobody's loud up in here except you. But some people, that's where they live. They live in loud. So when we talk about these things, y'all, this is not about, don't think on this platform, we're a lot deeper than, are you going to be on Team Carmelo or are you going to be on Team this? I don't care about all of that. What I do care about is you. I care about individuals who want to at least improve their health and how they think and how they process things. People like that, if you're that kind of person, then you're in the right place. But if you think we're just going to be here, we're just going to be caught up in you're going to be a Democrat or you're a Republican, or you're this team or you're that team, all that can go straight to hell. I don't care about that. What I do care about is seeing individuals really begin to prioritize their own health and well-being. Because once you do that, these stories, when they come up, you'll be able to address those things from a place of understanding. And some things you're going to find you don't need to pay attention to it because you see it's a complete waste of time and it's just an energy drainer. So you'll have the wisdom to say, you know what? This ain't for me. I don't care about that. Let me go and learn about these plants or something over here. You understand what I'm saying? So those are the things that are very important here. But we do talk about some of these topics here because these are signs that are showing the decay of a culture that is going to prioritize a murderer over a plethora of things that are happening literally every day where our own children are dying at the hands of each other. And when you bring those stories up, when people get mad at you for bringing it up, like, how dare you bring it up? I'm like, the boat is sinking. You don't care about that? Well, you're just bringing it up as a deflection. No, I'm saying your people are dying. It's time to wake up. If not, then you gotta, whatever. It is what it is. Anyway, so that's all I wanted to share with that. Go check out this brother. Go check out some of these other individuals that I've shared with you, who are talking about this case. Actual, real lawyers, go check them out and then start from there. ChatGPT is a great source along with some of these other AI platforms as well. You can ask questions about the law and it will help you, but don't ask it from don't come from a place of, where you want confirmation bias, because you got to be careful with that too. But if you ever want to understand a thing, you go to people who have spent years in studying it. Okay. That's it. I mean, this is about a simple life lesson I can teach here today. So that's it. That's all I have for you. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you again soon. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening, day, morning, wherever you're watching this. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.